We all love a good prank, but we all know that one guy who takes things way too far. But I guarantee you've never had to deal with anything like what's on this list. So let's just jump right into it. Coming up on number 1, we have too many burgers. Employee Daniel Hartman worked at McDonald's during the summer of 2014. His boss kept getting after him about his poor performance while making burgers. Eventually, Daniel had had enough and he shouted at his boss, "You have no idea how stressful this job is." He stormed off and didn't show up for work the next day. After that, his boss had gone missing. Turns out Daniel had kidnapped his boss and forced him to make burgers in his basement. Now, due to an obscure legal precedent that has to do with workplace harassment, the police weren't able to do anything. Daniel's employer hasn't been seen since, but it's pretty safe to assume that he's still flipping burgers in Daniel's basement. Seems like the employer and the employee had flipped roles. Coming up on number 2 is Ode to Joy. Now, we've all heard this song, and most know that Beethoven was actually deaf when he wrote it. Or so we thought. We have recently discovered that Beethoven actually came up to his friends one day and said, "Look at this song I wrote," before playing the piece. But he didn't want to let anyone down after they had taken him seriously. The original writer of Ode to Joy is still unknown. Coming up on number 3 is the teleporting porta potty. This group of people had set up a porta potty in a way that makes it seem like once you got out, you stepped into a business meeting. This must have made people in this situation very confused and even embarrassed. This prank played on people's emotions for others' entertainment, and that's never okay. Number 4 is the Third Reich. One day, aspiring artist Adolf Hitler was talking to his friend when he said, "Jetzt bin ich ganz allein. Ich bin kalt, gebrochen und allein." Which translates to, "I wonder what would happen if I promised to fix our economy and then said a bunch of stuff about killing the Jews afterwards." Of course, he didn't know at the time that people would take him seriously. When asked about it later, Mr. Hitler said, I didn't really like them that much anyways, so it's a win-win. Before I get to number 5, I want to hear all of your best prank stories, so be sure to leave those in the comments and make sure to subscribe. For me, my best prank story that went too far was when I was at a restaurant with my friends and wanted to give them a little scare, so I pretended to choke for a second, but they could see I was faking and the whole thing fell apart. But I still wanted to scare them, so I started a little fire, and by the time the whole thing was over, a few people didn't make it out. But the owner told me that fatalities were even better when filing for insurance, so I consider that one a win on both ends. Coming up on number 5 is the prank on you right now. I didn't even have a number 5. You are a pathetic example of the gullibility of our nature. Let's all gather around the spectacle presented to us of emptiness, sadness, and broken hope in an attempt to bring some pity into our cold hearts. You I call to, you, the ambassador of shattered dreams, the vessel of endless remorse. Can you not once deny us an example of your tragic dance through the dead night, the night which calls upon sorrow and death, never to be countered by the daylight of happiness? Of course you can't.